don't allow us to send anything out to external parties for some, but that's fine. That is what it is. So we'll work on that. That will come through in the next 24 hours. Okay. So
Brilliant,
just so
thank you.
Nagma, just while I remember, have you had a session with Brian, or is that
yes, I've had a session with Brian.
Lovely. And was everything resolved successfully?
Yeah, it was resolved successfully.
Good. Just reach out if you need anything else, please. Yeah,
I will do, definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, Paul, over to you.
Okie dokie. Good morning, everyone. First off, I'm probably going to blabber away for the next half hour or so. So if you have any questions, please interrupt me, because it's preferable to just me rattling on. So I'll just share my screen first of all. If we can all see this. Okay, no, that's my webcam. Let's not do that. Thank goodness I'm dressed today. Can everybody see the Circle platform screen? Okay.
Yeah, that's good for
Yes,
me.
thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so as Deb's alluded to, LACE is our joining and borrowing module that we offer. It's separated into sort of three parts. The first of which is a maintenance program where you set parameters for how the system will interpret applications. The second part is the application itself, which your potential members and members will visit to join and borrow. And the third part is called the underwriting queue, which is basically a process for loan underwriting. So we'll start with the maintenance program just to give you an idea of what you can expect from this. There are two sets of rules that you've got control over. One is the credit union policy rules, which refer to your existing membership when they're applying for a loan. And the second set of rules is the credit report rules, which relate to the results of an automated credit check that we'd carry out on an applicant. So in terms of the credit union policy rules, I'll give you a couple of examples. Have they had a loan allocation within the past X number of months? So we can choose, is this rule active or not? What the value of X is. So in my case here, have they had a loan allocation within the past 3 months? If it's a yes, what will the primary status of their application be, pass, refer, or fail? Likewise, if it's a no. And are we just going to stop them applying there and then, so we don't waste their time going through the application or yours looking at one we're not going to approve? So we probably save stopping the application for more severe rules, like is their status code equal to your bad debtor code or deceased code? Because probably wouldn't have a loan application from a bad debtor, etc. So there's about 20 or 30 rules here. Things like, have they paid a minimum X% of their loan back? Have they had an application declined in the past X number of months? That kind of thing. The credit report rules work in exactly the same way, but obviously the rules relate to the results of a credit check. So there are things like, do they have any CCJs, for example? We might say 1 to 3 is a refer, and 4 to 999 is a fail, that kind of thing. So all this means is that LACE is going to give you like an initial assessment of the application. It doesn't make a decision on your behalf. It just sort of helps guide you towards the most likely outcome. And it's up to you whether you respect that or override that with, a pass or a fail. So you can edit these rules whenever you like. Once it's up and running, the same applies. Just any changes you make would take effect to any applications that came in after that fact. So it can be, ever changing based on your appetite at that particular moment. So that is the rules. The next part we'll look at is the actual application itself. So this is what your membership would see. This will obviously be styled with your branding and logo, etc., etc. It's fully responsive, so works on all devices, all browsers, the sort of thing you would expect. So the first thing the applicant is greeted with is a notice that you might carry out a credit check, etc., because that's the law. You have to tell them so, and they have to agree to that or they can't carry on with the application. If I was an existing member, excuse me one second. pardon me. If I was an existing member, all I have to do is type in my membership number and my date of birth. That'll go off to be validated, and assuming it's correct, it will send me a one-time passcode email to my registered email address with a link on it. It'll put me into the application as myself. If I'm not an existing member, what I'm going to do is join and borrow at the same time. It's not two separate forms we have to fill out. It's all sort of concatenated into one quick and simple application. So in this situation, all I'd have to do is confirm how I actually fit into the common bond. And assuming I do so, I can crack on with my application. So the first step is an indication of the cost of borrowing. It's value-based, so there's always going to be like a default product code behind this application, which means I could just come straight here and get an idea of the cost of borrowing. So if I change that to say 200 quid, you'll see the APR changes because that's within the threshold, etc. I'll put it back up to about 5k. So there's a couple of ways in which the default product code can change. If I was an existing member logging in and I had an outstanding loan balance, LACE would recognize that. So it would change the default code to whatever outstanding product code I have, which means that the applicant will get a much more accurate reflection of the cost of borrowing, because what we can do is wrap in their existing borrowing to give them a more accurate monthly repayment and total repayable, so it's a bit more realistic for them. The third way the product can change is if you are doing some kind of a promotion like a Christmas loan. We can provide you a specific link which can take an applicant straight to the application to apply for that product, so it would override any of the things I've just talked about. So the other things you'd expect to see, how much would they like to, or when would they like to repay, what the frequency is, what the purpose is. This would obviously tie up to your loan purposes within Curtains, and what their preferred repayment method is. And that's really just for your information. You're not being held to that or anything. Just standing order, sure. The second part of the application is the chunkiest bit, really, the About You step. If I was an existing member, the majority of this would already be filled in because obviously we have this information already. I'm just going to put in some nonsense so we can carry on. You might see here, depending on if we have any credits, our postcode lookup integration looking good. Let's see there. So yeah, there are various third-party integrations within LACE. This is one of them, as I say, postcode lookup, which is great for things like uniformity of data, especially for the employment address. I'm sure you know if you have 3 people that work at the same employer, you'd get the address 3 different ways. Whereas with a lookup, everything is much more consistent, and it's also quicker and easier for the applicant to fill in. So we'll grab either 3 years worth of addresses or 3 previous addresses, which is as per the credit reference agency's preferences. Do these bits and bobs. Let's just see test@test.com. And then just a bit of marketing info. How did you hear about our loans? And then we can supply beneficiary info at this point, but we don't make it mandatory. Third step is the employment info. Again, we'll just grab everything that we can actually hold on the core platform for an employment record. We'll also grab the payroll number so that we can set up a payroll reference on their account as well. I'll just say that we are on benefits here, so I don't have to fill it all in. And next we'll get their finances. So how much do you earn? Let's say 2 grand. You'll notice it's asking me for benefits in the next box, and that's because I said we were unemployed on the previous step. Had I said we were retired, that box would be asking me for a pension amount. So I'm just sort of highlighting that the form is dynamic, and it will change what it's asking depending on what I've answered previously or whether or not I'm an existing member. Again, if I was an existing member, it wouldn't be asking me for bank details. If we had anything in Bank One, it would recognise that we already have bank details and instead, provide a message saying, if your application is successful, we'll pay this loan out to your account ending 1234, that kind of thing. How much do we want to save with our repayments? A bit of legal stuff that we need to ask, like do you pay tax outside of the UK, etc. And then you'll notice a very small and easy to fill in expenditure section. So we're asking for the mortgage amount, the council tax amount, caps lock on, are the travel costs per month and the other credit expenditure that they might have. So the reason that this is sort of so small and easy to fill in, it used to be something like 30 questions we asked, and it was cumbersome, took ages to fill in, and the information probably wasn't going to be accurate anyway. So now what we're doing is using an ONS cost of living figure that we attach to the applicant at the start of the application. We also take in other factors like how many dependents they had, because each dependent has a cost attached to them. So we'll take those background figures, add them to this expenditure that they're declaring here, subtract that from the income that they have said they earn, and that will give us a disposable income figure. If this disposable income figure is less than 70% of the loan repayment, we'll say that's fine, crack on with the application, no problem. If it's greater than that, we don't tell them that they can't have a loan. What we say is, at best, based on what you've told us, we reckon you can only afford at most £49 a month. So why don't you maybe reassess what you're asking for, manage your expectations a wee bit, and then you'll be much more likely to be granted this loan and much less likely to waste the credit union's time looking at an application they wouldn't have approved. So we'll send them back to the loan calculator, and what they can either do is maybe increase the term that they're asking for or decrease the value. I think we'll get to where we need to be. Nope, I have to ask for a wee bit less. Cool. So you'll see that red figure is now a blue figure, indicating that we're below our affordability threshold or above it. I'm not sure what's correct there. Anyway, now we're much more likely to actually be approved this loan once we apply for it. So back to the finances page, you notice that that message is away and we can proceed with our application. So the final step is really just us reviewing the info that we have entered. We can jump to any of those steps, edit that info should we wish to do so. We'll do the legal blurb. We read the FSCS notice, etc. We'll take this opportunity to grab their marketing preferences as well. And because we're joining in borrowing, we'll also get their preferred statement destination for the annual statement that must be sent. Confirm their bank details, give them a rough indication of the total cost, which would be the loan repayment plus how much they said they wanted to borrow every month. They can confirm that they are human beings and submit their application. So they get a wee reference along with their application. And if we have an open banking provider, say, we can take this opportunity to request that they go and sign up for it, etc. So me sort of talking through that at length only took about 10 minutes. And that's the journey for someone to both request to join the credit union and then apply for a loan. So it's all kind of wrapped into one. So nice and quick and simple. Yeah, for the applicant. Now, what's happened in the background at this point is we would have some services running on your server that are just sort of sitting there waiting for applications to come in. So it would recognize that someone has applied to join the credit union. So it would grab their information. It would do an IDV check on them to confirm they are who they say they are. It would do a bank check on the bank info that was provided. So it will confirm that it's a valid bank account and that the name on that account matches the name of the applicant. Then it will create a member record automatically on Curtains. It'll also see that they did a loan application at the same time. So it will grab that info, credit check them, create a loan application on their newly created member account. And that's all automated in the background. And because it's automated, what it will do at the end of that procedure is send you a log email of everything it's done. So it would let you know that it imported this member, it ran these checks, etc. So these log emails that you get are sort of the indicator of what's been happening in the background. So once all that's done, what we'll end up with is an application in the underwriting queue. Now, the whole purpose of the underwriting queue is to introduce a workflow to loan assessment, because the tools to review a loan application have always sort of been around the system, but there isn't or hasn't really been any real structure to how you go about getting that and go through the process. So that's really what the purpose of the underwriting queue is. So what we'll see on the pending queue is a list of all the current loan applications that are in our responsibility to deal with. They'll be organised by, the member number, name, product, time in the queue, the current status of the application, the things you would expect to see. We can filter this queue by the initial status, so we could only look at passes if, say, we were a less experienced underwriter, so those are kind of the easier ones. Likewise, we can filter by refers or fails specifically. I only have fails because all my data is for demo purposes, so I'm not going to pass a credit check, etc. So if we actually go into one of these, what we've got up at the top is 3 boxes. One says all rules verified. The next says income, expenditure, and payout verified. And the third is agreement sent. You'll note that they are all red. And the purpose of us being in here is essentially to turn those red boxes green. That is the workflow of the underwriting queue. So to do that, we're going to look at the 4 tabs beneath, which are member info, credit union and agency rules, income, expenditure, and disbursement, send email documents. So under member info, you would see, would you believe, information about the member. We can jump straight to member inquiry. We can view scans. So we can actually, if we wanted to interrogate an IDV or a credit check or any accompanying documentation that they might have in their scanned images, we can look at the application details of what they specifically asked for. If you use the loan apron, that is in here. If you don't currently use it, there's no requirement to do so. The renegotiate tab is quite a useful one because that gives the credit union control over any of the parameters of the loan that you want to offer the member at the end of the day. So if you decide you want to change the product, principal, frequency term, interest rate, wrap in existing borrowing, you've got the facility to do all of that within the queue. You can also jump straight to the diary, look at any information on the account, and you can look at event logs because the underwriting queue has sort of its own audit. So anything an underwriter does in here is going to be recorded on that audit. You can interrogate that as and when you like. The first time we actually have to take an action is under the credit union and agency rules. So this is the applicant that's basically been run through the credit checks and the credit union policy rules, and it's returned passes, refers, or fails. We don't really need to worry about the passes because they're passes. We only really need to look at refers and fails. So I can right click, hide all our passes. You'll see that the credit report rules are all good. So I guess I'd previously gone through them and changed what I had to change. But under the credit union rules, we've got one here where, for whatever reason, we've said if the employment status is benefits, it's a refer. Excuse me. So if I'm not willing to override that rule, what I have to do at this point is decline the application. I'd have to enter a reason as to why I'm declining it. If we're quite happy to grant them the loan because we know them, they've been a member for years or whatever, what I can do is right click on it, set it as a pass, enter a reason for doing so, because this is a demo. Okay, so I mean, there's going to be more than one to deal with in a real world situation, but for demo purposes, I've gone through all of the rules. I've overridden them to passes where I can, and that has gotten rid of them all. So all rules verified is now green. We are 1/3 of the way through approving this loan. The next thing that we need to do is confirm the income and expenditure that they declared. So I'd look at any bank statements that were provided or an open banking record if we have one to confirm what they declared. Say, for example, they didn't provide us any information, so we can't actually do that at this stage. What I would do is jump to the Send Email Documents tab, where we've got some template emails that can be sent. So we can do pass, refer, fail, RPost, and a couple of ad hoc ones. Pardon me. And there's also a proof of income one. So this is going to contain some template text for however you want your applicants to provide you proof of income, be it through open banking or some other method. So if I send that email to the member because they haven't provided us that info, that's it done. And I go back to the pending queue, you'll notice Mr. Demonstration is no longer in that queue. And the reason for that is the pending queue only holds applications where it's the credit union's responsibility to be doing something with that application. There will be times throughout this process where it's in the member's hands to do something. So we kind of split them up for that reason so that it's much more ordered and you know what's your responsibility and what's the member's responsibility. So there's a couple of additional queues one for awaiting proof of income, one for awaiting documents, and then documents received is when we've got everything back. That's kind of the final step. So in the proof of income queue is Mr. Demonstration. We'll just imagine he got our email, provided us the information through whatever means were required, and that will allow us to confirm his income. And he was completely honest, which is amazing. Good guy. The right-hand side of the screen, by the way, is just the disbursement where we're actually going to pay the loan out to. So that'll be populated with the bank details and the full value. We can split that out should we wish to do so, but obviously no requirement. So if I save and close that, go back to the pending queue and back into Mr. Demonstration, income and expenditure is now verified. So there's only sort of one thing for us left to do. So back to the Send Email Documents tab. We're looking at the right-hand side of the screen now, which is what documentation we're going to attach to offer this member a loan. So I'm going to click on the agreement. Chances are we might have a payment schedule. Because they were joining and borrowing, we might also attach, say, a new member welcome pack, something like that. So we can either print that, save it to a PDF, or we can RPost it. I don't know if you guys are currently using RPost or not, but that's who we integrate with for electronic signatures currently. I'll just, okay. So it's not a requirement that you have it, but it is quite handy just to send it off for a digital signature. You know, you get a receipt back to say that's all been signed. It's much sort of quicker and simpler. If you're interested in RPost, we can provide you that information. It's sort of okay, no problem.
That sort of logistics and what next steps are after the demo.
Thank you.
Yeah, RPost is actually integrated into Curtains whether or not you take Lace. So if it's something that you'd like to have, you can, you know, have it regardless. I'll just save this to a PDF for demo, but we'll imagine that I RPosted it off for an electronic signature. So it's just generating all the paperwork that I've requested just now. And it's finished. Cool. Okay, so hypothetically, that's off to the member for them to sign and return. So that means that this application will be in the awaiting docs queue because it's in the member's ballpark to return all the signed documents. So I'll go back into the application. We'll imagine that it's all been signed and returned as we would expect. We can still decline the application at any point, but I'm just going to confirm that we have received the correct documents back. Yep, quite happy with all of that. The signed loan agreement has been returned. Okay, and that'll put it into the final queue, which is really just that the documents have received. What are we going to do now? So again, we can still decline the application if we want to do so. More than likely, with a signed loan agreement back, we're probably going to approve the application. And this will respect the teller's risk limit that you set in teller control. Under each teller, you can say the risk limit is £1,000, £5,000. So they wouldn't be able to approve a loan of a greater value without a second signatory or someone with a higher menu priority co-signing this once they approve it. So I don't actually know what my risk limit is set to. We'll find out when I try and approve this loan. So yeah, I'm sure I want to approve it. It's just warning me the repayments aren't affordable because of my rubbish data. Yep, definitely want to do it. Okay, it let me, so my risk limit's high enough. So essentially, that is us dealt with this application. The purpose of the underwriting queue is really just, to take the loan to the point where we're ready to disperse it. It doesn't actually do that, but that's done by the regular means. So you might go to manual loan allocation to post the loan onto the member's account, and then checks and backs release to actually create the file to send to the bank to disperse the funds. So those parts are just the same as you've always done them. But as I say, the purpose of the queue is to get it to that stage where you're ready to go ahead and approve the funds. So that essentially is LACE, what it does. Do you have any questions off the back of that?
I don't think I've got any questions right now. There's a lot of information there.
It is, yeah.
And you were saying with relation to the credit checks, that's automatically all written within that.
That's correct, yeah. So basically, you sign up to the APIs for those services. We put the information where it needs to go, and then it all happens automatically.
Brilliant.
You can also call credit check sort of ad hoc at any point if you want to, because there's a button in member inquiry for you to do that as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be through LACE also.
Okay, lovely.
Claire,
That's brilliant. Yeah.
who do you currently use at the moment in terms of third
We don't.
party?
We don't use credit checks.
You don't have credit checks?
No.
Do you have a banking?
So we've got loans officers. So Annabelle was and Sonia. So any loans over 2,000, we ask for guarantors, and that the loan officers look at loans once a week. But the quick loans, which are a higher rate, we can deal with in the office.
Okay, so currently, based on my knowledge of credit unions and how they work, so you'd get a paper-based application either in the office or uploaded through the website. You would take a look at it. You would make an assessment. And then you would either approve or decline. So currently you don't refer to any credit reference agencies or any open banking.
No.
So I assume that you ask the member to provide the last 3 months worth of bank statements.
No, we only ask for a month. But with the loans over 2,000, we ask for a guarantor. So we also ask for their proof of so their passport, driving license, their proof of address in the last 3 months, and their proof of income.
Okay. Does a member have to have a minimum amount in their share account, or would you only lend on 3 times the or
we
not?
only lend on 2 or 3 times their amount, depending how long they've been a member, and they have to have saved for at least 3 months.
Understand. Okay, thank you for that. Just while we're on the subject of third parties, do you use any third party services or
No.
just nothing? Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that. That just helps me understand a little bit more around what your current proposition is. I think if I can make a comment, and I've used LACE in my previous, credit union life when I was managing one. And, as we talk to our clients, and it depends, well, we're too small, we don't need it. What this would do is significantly transform the lending opportunity of Waltham Forest. It would automate a significant amount of processes and really allow you, and we can spend a lot more time running through this. This is just the phase 1, looking at the technology, isn't it? And it would allow you to open out. We talked a lot in our previous conversations about growth. You'd be able to reach much more of your common bond through this electronic way of working, and you can make it as automated or as manual as you like. So we can do phased integration, we can do phased usage, so it's very, very flexible, very, very flexible. And it will also, importantly, we've patched this technology through to the app, so it would allow you then via the app to allow members to join and or borrow or both at the same time.
Yeah. So how does it run in within the Nevo? It's just literally the information as long. Obviously, if they're our current members, then the information is already in the Circle application. So it's just a matter of agreeing the information that's there. So how does that run? Could we see the information going into Nevo?
So that when we flick the switch in your Circle app instance, and it will deploy a join and borrow bot. So I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll speak to Brian and we can bring it to life through a demonstration. Or I tell you what I can do just to save time. We can record how that works, Brian and I, and then ping it through to you via recording. I think that's probably just a smarter way to work. Then you can liaise with Annabelle and other members of the board, and talk to it a little bit more intelligent.
Can I ask a question, please?
Of course, yeah.
Because I'm just trying to get my head around the whole situation. But one thing that's sprung up at the moment, and I'm wary of, is the join and borrow bit.
Yeah.
So please explain to me, because I'm getting a different scenario in my head. So when you say, go on.
Yeah. So just to give some context to that statement. Some credit unions, and this entirely depends on how you work. Obviously, Claire's already alluded to the fact that you have to be a member for 3 months before you will be even allowed to apply for a loan.
Yeah.
So you might want to deploy that join and borrow feature. So a lot of our credit union clients and a lot of members want to join the credit union in order to take out a loan. All right.
Yeah.
And that's a policy that they support. And you might decide that a little bit further down the line, that's something that, it's a rule that you want to change based on the success. Because what will happen, so first of all, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Because like I said, I know we have to have savers and shares, and I couldn't understand how, Jane or Joe Bloss could come off the street and join up and then take some money out and then probably disappear forever. That's my concern.
Yeah. So, and this is the whole point of the of this slightly different way of working or assessing a loan. So what you would do, and again, it's entirely up to you, right? It's all about balancing risk, isn't it? But what you will get with this functionality is an absolute 360-degree view of the member. All right. So you will get an understanding of how they have performed and what their credit score and credit record and amount of indebtedness looks like in the last 12 months, for example. If they are honouring their existing repayments, and that'll be across the board, you'll have an enormously detailed view. And I'm just trying to think how we can bring this to life for you, but just let me talk to it at first. So you'd have all of that would be that the credit assessment team would have visibility of. Then if you decided that you wanted to switch on the open banking piece of lace, open banking gives you a very detailed affordability assessment, right? So you would not need to ask anyone to bring in bank statements. All right. So you open up, the customer gives you consent, and and then the open banking technology links through to their bank account, all fully encrypted, So you then have a view 6, 12, 18, 24-month view of how they have run their finances, what they've got incoming, what they've got outgoing, what their disposable income is, any flags around, and a lot of credit unions use it. It shows money lending or money lending agreements. It shows everything, so it gives you an absolute an additional view around affordability. So it therefore, as a consequence, allows you to be to take away the risk of lending, or to remove a significant part of that lending risk through having at your fingertips access to a whole host of data about that specific member. All right. So in turn, it allows you to define, redesign, of course, if there's board appetite, but I'm just giving you the scenario, your loan policies. Yeah. So that's the sort of strategic view of what this technology delivers. So in that sense, you might say, well, we're really pleased. We now have a very different way of working around our loan assessment piece. We have de-risked the product. We've de-risked our loan portfolio through a much more detailed approach where we assess 12 months plus of customer behaviour across how they're running their existing financial commitments and how much they can actually afford, right? So, and we all know, you get the income and expenditure from the member. You've got to map that to the bank statement. There's usually an anomaly because not everything is taken into account, but it just automates and speeds it up. So it de-risks and it speeds up the process, therefore making your operation much more efficient. All right. It also allows you then to think about your loan policies in a different way, and you might define as part of the credit union growth strategy, well, we're really pleased with the way that this technology is working for us. We're seeing a reduction in bad debt because we're adopting a much more rigorous approach to the underwriting piece. We now think it's appropriate to allow members, we don't need to see 3 months worth of saving history. They don't need to be a member for 3 months. They don't even need we don't need to offset a proportion of the shares to the loan. Because of this, the depth and breadth of the information we've got and how it's influenced and strengthened the decision-making underwriting process, we are now in a comfortable place to allow a member to join and apply for a loan at the same time, because application for a loan does not necessarily mean approval, Annabelle. Yeah. So and I'm just overlaying this with my own credit union experience. I've run credit unions and also sat on the board. I've been around for 12 years. So I'm just giving you from my experience of implementing this technology, how it actually did transform and the way that my credit union worked, but also how it impacted the revenue and allowed us to grow significantly. All sorts of thoughts going through my head. Really happy to connect you to, we've got a lot of clients and we've got a lot of contacts. Really happy to connect you to credit unions that are using LACE, so you can hear firsthand their experiences and what they've done and how it's working for them, sharing a bit of best practice. But that might be a little bit further down the line. Your call. We're happy to support you in any way.
What I like out of this process, I know with Mevo it's been quite slow with us, but what we can see is that and looking at the demo for LACE is that it still gives us all of this still gives us the end result that we can still make the decisions.
Absolutely.
It's not like it's online and we're just getting inundated with the information and we're not able to put any rules or processes into it. We've still got the full process that we can say no. So if we did go down the line, probably not straight away, but if we did go down the line of the join and borrow, it's just literally a matter of possibly a lot of the loans we're going to say, oh well, look, you've joined now, would you like to save with us? And unfortunately at this time you won't be able to take out the loan. It just sort of able to open up the doors to members that perhaps wouldn't join with us unless they were in a certain situation.
Exactly. So how that would work, just to come back, you do not lose any aspect of control with this technology in terms of the loan application process. You will always, or the appropriate members of the team, Claire, Annabelle, will always have to click the boxes as Paul has shown you to make sure that you're happy with that loan. So no control is lost. We're not talking about what we call in the industry straight through loan processing. So we might have experienced it ourselves. You sat in front of the TV and you've got the money in your bank account in, you know, half an hour. Not at all, because for a lot of some credit unions want that, but you know but the majority of credit unions do not want, still require that manual intervention to either decline or approve. So very important that I reiterate that. You know, Paul showed you you know, rules, and there are two different types of rules, and you can, you know, we can, you know, amend some of them. Paul's going to kill me. You know, you know, no, you know, if you look at those rules, and I'll send some stuff through to you so you can have a look. You know, you see the depth and breadth of the rules that are there, so you can set them to say, well, you know, if you've got off the top of my head, I'm just trying to remember them, you know, history of bad debt in the last 3 months, it's an auto decline. Yes, so you're not having to go through, you know, loan after loan after loan. You will only get, excuse me, you will only receive the loans that are, you know, worthy of assessment. So it will cut your rework down significantly. Yeah, but you control the rules. You will always control the rules. We're here to provide the technology that allows you to do that, and that's probably the best way I can summarize it. You know.
Lovely,
Paul,
thank you, Deborah.
Yeah. Paul,
would you, when you send anything over, would you be able to send the costings? Because Paul was saying about the IDV, the bank check, the member record. So you've got all them different processes. So could you add, or like with the Nevo hub, with the member ID, you could add, or you know.
Yeah. So what we'll do on that, and we're currently actually just reviewing the way that we onboard clients to LACE.
Right.
But yeah, I've got pricing for all of those things, so I'll ping them through. And what I'll do, Claire, is I'll send all the information, and let's pick up on a call just so I can take you through them and make some sense of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Annabelle, anything else?
Not at the moment, but I'm still digesting all this and getting my head around. It seems like a good idea. It does, but I have a few issues I've got to get my head around. So if I need anything, I'll have to come back to you. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Give me a ring, send an email, anything. Yeah, it is a lot of information to take in. We'll get all the information over to you. We'll get the recording over to you. Reflect, and we can have as many sessions as you want. Yeah, it's important. That's fine. It's fully understood.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys, before we finish?
No, I've got everything. Thank you.
Good. Joe?
No, not for me, thanks.
Paul, anything to conclude on? Thank you for your excellent demo as always.
Yes, not Paul. At all. Thank you. Nice to speak to you all.
Very informative.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much.
See you in a bit. Have a good day.
Guys. Bye.
And you. Bye.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.